Hi, Sean.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Good. I'm good. And you?
Good, good. You're based out of Sweden?
Yeah. So I'm actually at the production site right now. So I was one of the hosts yesterday, and I'm running back and forth. So I'm just watching your pitch here.
Ah,
And
must
then,
be. We're still locked down in Toronto here, so it must be lovely to go to an office and see other people as opposed to.
we actually can't anymore. So as of next week, we'll have a maximum of 8 people coming together to spend time either at offices or it's like common meetings. So public meetings where we will only be 8. So we will have the same. Not the same situation, but a similar situation. Otherwise, it's been quite open. But how long have you been in lockdown for?
We since mid March, so we left our office and went fully remote mid March. So, but it's been good. It's actually been very helpful for us. We're mostly engineers and data scientists, obviously. So we can work anywhere in the world. So.
Yeah. And are the entire team based in Toronto, or is it?
We are, yes. 100% based in Canada and Toronto right now, but of course, with more of a digital workforce, we'll be expanding across Canada and eventually the world, hopefully.
Yeah. So how did Coldstart start?
Yeah, absolutely. So my co-founder, Adam Webb, I think who's in the audience right now, we work together at the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors, which is an NHL and NBA team.
Yeah.
And so we built the analytics and data science practice there. And even though it was a phenomenal consumer brand, we still had difficulties acquiring intelligence on our customers. And so we kind of looked around the world and said, hey, there's not really a great ethical source of first-party data to build AI products, to build consumer intelligence. Meanwhile, the privacy conversation with GDPR, CCPA, and then just recently this week in Canada, there's introduced new privacy legislation. We saw a real gap in the marketplace, a way for individuals and companies to have a more authentic relationship based on data, based on a positive consent, ethical data exchange, personalization when you want it and privacy when you don't.
Yeah. Cool.
And so in kind of seeing that opportunity, we went out and built a product that facilitates that. So yeah, that's the genesis and the impetus for the idea.
Yeah. And what type of industries are you targeting? Or you're targeting everything, or are there any specific verticals?
Of course, we find our technology is applicable to many industries, but we're finding that it's resonating most with people who are in the B2C market. So trying to directly market to consumers, trying to give them a more personalized and an individual experience. So sports, entertainment, retailers, those types of industries we find our product resonates with more strongly. I mean, I don't know if you recall the last mobile app you installed on your phone.
I have to check.
Well, let's use most mobile app experiences. You go on and they might ask you maybe like 10 questions or 12, like, hey, where do you live and what do you like and what should we give you? And what we actually do is have built a consent layer that actually integrates into the channels. And so there's a juice company we're working with. Actually, no, one of the retailers we're working with. They want to create bespoke wardrobes for you.
Yeah.
And so they might ask you, hey, Peter, what's your style? Do you like button-up shirts? Do you like skinny jeans? Do you like trainers? Like, what's your style? Well, with our utility, we actually just drop in one screen and say, hey, Peter, would you like to personalize your experience? And if you opt in, then what we do is we go and collect information from your Google, your Yahoo, your Outlook account. We create an account for you where you can actually control your data preferences and recommendations and do this across ecosystems and across apps and industries. And you can basically share your data on your terms. And so You can create personalization when you want, and then we'll take this data, build recommendations on the perfect wardrobe for you with our clients. Or if you want to revoke your access or understand a particular prediction or outcome, we can explain that for you. And on the flip side, if there's companies that you would never share your information with, we can make GDPR data subject requests on your behalf automatically. So say you're like, hey, how the heck did this person get my email? Well, we can go make a data subject request automatically and then serve that data back to you in our ecosystem, making it really easy for you to control your personal data.
That sounds brilliant. The reason. Giving you a background there. My dad used to be the general manager for one of the biggest football clubs in Sweden, with a huge and basically the same thing I think you've experienced, but on another type of lower scale maybe. But so they had no insights. They knew nothing about their fans, and this was like really the fan base is big all over Sweden, but they know nothing because they don't have any data. They don't track data. They can't do anything with they can't do personalization. And the same thing goes. We had workshops with for example, hotel industry. The same thing goes there. They don't really know their guests because they use old systems. So this sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and of course, there's lots of great kind of AI innovations we've had to kind of create. So one of the cool things for any of the AI practitioners is actually our feature engineering process. So we found a pretty novel way to abstract that. So it becomes, I don't want to say automatic, but like, let's say we had a new data source we wanted to build some features on or build a model for. It actually takes us probably less than a day once it's in our production environment to take those, build a kind of configuration, and then create a feature engineering process that's kind of appended to our user profiles. And I think like that's one of the key pieces is that kind of architecture we've designed. And the design pattern, I think, is pretty cool, right? Because that's one of the most frustrating and challenging parts of building an AI system is that reproducible, repeatable feature engineering process is frankly a pain in you-know-what.
Exactly. So do you build a feature library, or how do your customers select what features they want?
Yeah, so it depends on our customer. We meet them where they are. So some folks will want the actual features, so they'll want the data frames. Yeah. Others will just want the pure insights, right? So if you're, say, in your example, the soccer club, they wouldn't really want the 150,000 features, right? They wouldn't know what to do with it. No. But what they might care about is, your favorite trainer brand, favorite drink, the type of lifestyle marketing you're into. Say you're into sustainable clothing, right? That's a very key piece of information that they could maybe weave into their retail strategy, and then come back to you and say, hey, Peter, did you know that this jersey, this kit, while it's $10 more, 10 pounds more, is actually 100% sustainably developed. And then you might be more likely to engage with that. So it depends, like it can be completely computationally driven. It could be just pure insights. We meet them where they are. Yeah. I do notice that there's a question in the chat here. So
from Jessica.
Yeah. So great question, Jessica. So businesses pay for the service. It is 100% free for the users. It will always be. And we've actually built a rewards module that in the short term, while we had kind of been building our business, we were actually compensating users for the use of their data. Not a few $100 or $1,000 worth, but a few, $5 here, $10 there, because we really believe that data is very valuable and we want to facilitate a fair value exchange. Then as more businesses come on board, the longer term vision, maybe 5 years plus, is to help create more of a data exchange where you can exchange personalization, privacy, or money, and any combination thereof, based on your kind of preferences.
Yeah. So and how scalable are you?
Well, we're built. Some of our patterns are built off of very similar ones to platforms like Instagram and Facebook. So millions and millions of users and dozens of businesses is no problem scaling. And of course, we've done many kind of fun performance scaling tests with the Ontario government here has a really great program where they actually provide free compute. So they gave us the equivalent of something like $500,000 of cloud computing resources for us to stress test all of our systems, which of course just makes the data scientists and engineers extremely happy because they have unlimited VMs and Kubernetes clusters. And when they spin up a 256 node cluster, it's like the funnest day of their life, basically. How does your service meet privacy? Great question. So we started with GDPR, which is obviously one of the more strict privacy frameworks in the world. And then we've also been working with the Office of the Federal Privacy Commissioner's Office here in Canada, because there's just recently this week, there was Bill C-11 that was introduced to our parliament on a very, actually, I think close to or maybe slightly stricter privacy framework than GDPR, actually getting into algorithmic explainability and prediction explainability are going to be some of the requirements for Canadian companies. And so basically what we do is, like we said kind of earlier, we meet our clients where they are. So if it's someone who's subject to GDPR, like we'll reside the data in the country of that residence. We'll make sure that every single piece of our software is compliant. But we started with the strictest protocol in designing everything. So we end by giving users control over every single data element that we collect, when we collect it, how we collect it, how long we persist it, and of course, they can delete all of their data or some of their data at any time, or we've created a one-button delete my entire account, which will scorch everything across our ecosystem.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're trying to really change the paradigm here when it comes to control over your information, building just as much deletion functionality as we have acquisition functionality.
Yeah. So how does your customers react on your way of doing this, your setup?
It's interesting because it usually falls into one of two categories, right? Usually most people, particularly in North America, where data privacy laws have been a little bit more, let's say, flexible, they just want the data. They're like, I want to take the data and I want to make some money with it. And they don't care about the privacy. And so we tend to be we are the stewards of this information. And so we say, hey, do what you need to do. And we're only going to provide you with data that is ethically sourced, positive consent, and meets all the highest standards. And so it's kind of like privacy as a managed service for them, and they can just do what they're good at. But then when we look across Europe, there are folks that are obviously much more concerned with how the information is handled, that it's compliant, and I think that's the right way, and I think that's the way the world's heading. So of course, the conversation goes in a little bit of a different kind of, let's say, optimization, right? Maximizing privacy subject to some level of profit, whereas in the US, it's maximized profit, subject to some minimum amount of privacy. So we can kind of rebalance and position our software in a way that is effective for any client.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And how about internationalization? Are you working only in North America, or are you working with clients in Europe as well?
So we're just bringing our product to Europe now. We have some pretty big sports clubs and organizations that that I won't mention, but you'll hopefully see shortly. Which has been great. It really resonates. The simple and quick onboarding has really been helpful for them, especially when it comes to their affiliates and partnership marketing, because we can really create a more cohesive digital ecosystem for kind of these folks, which they normally might not be able to create otherwise.
Yeah. So and how are you expanding? So how are you selling? How are you selling to? Because we had the masterclass earlier this year, or earlier this day, during the day, with B2B sales for startups in early phases, and especially AI-based or science-based startups. So how are you targeting the interesting company or customers for you guys?
Well, it's really interesting because we're in a fortunate position that in the last quarter or so, demand for our services is actually outstripping our supply to deliver them.
Yeah.
which is a phenomenal position to be in,
Good position.
as opposed to people saying, "Hey, Peter, why do you exist?"
Yeah.
So we're being very strategic on which engagements we're working on. We have a great board of advisors and investors that are giving us very strategic introductions to fairly big brands, and as a result of that, we're able to be more selective than, say, the average startup. So, and the idea, of course, is unlocking a major round of funding to really scale this across, dozens of enterprises. So, mostly just founder. So it's a long-winded way of answering your question, but mostly founder-driven sales, and our advisory board and investors are making these kind of bespoke introductions, and they're going quite well. And so, over the upcoming 6 months, on our B2B site that'll be going live shortly, you'll see a number of large logos as our customer base expands, and then use that for your kind of traditional B2B, social proof, and hey, here's how we did, and doing kind of like the A/B test and showing the lift of our product, and also the cost savings on the technology side, right? Obviously, giving us the risk and the AI saves companies an immense amount of time, and we can build a strong understanding on the user base that we're developing. So,
yeah. And what would you like to see happening in the coming 6 months after this event? What's your call to actions?
If there's any enterprises out there that are looking to collaborate on, a better privacy framework or personalization framework, we're here to help. Please, reach out. It's Sean.O'Brien@coldstart.ai. And we have a pretty low pressure sales pitch. If you want great personalization and us to take care of the data privacy for you, we can do it, and we can do it in a pretty cost effective manner. But of course, introducing the right level of decorum between you and your customers, which increasingly your customers are coming to expect and appreciate.
Yeah. Sean, it's been an honor to talk to you. I'm definitely going to check out Coldstart, because I know a lot of potential clients for you both in the corporate sector, but also the sports sector. We have to go back to the main stage now, but I guess that you will stay in the chat if there's questions, or reach out to you, so then they can reach you in direct message.
Yes, that'd be lovely. Thanks for your time, Peter.
Super. Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.